All right, so I'm out here on the water for a second time, and that's because the first time around, for some reason, I lost some of the footage, and I didn't even find that out until I was almost done editing the video. But anyway, the show must go on, and this video, of course, is going to be a casting impressions, but mostly a brake tutorial for the DMK Cheetah Metal. And of course, this is going to apply to the Air model as well because they have the same brakes. Now, of course, if you want to get your DMK Cheetah Metal or Air, there's going to be a link pinned at the top of the comment section that'll take you straight to Dankun Fishing. And the great thing with Dankun is they give you a flat tariff combined with shipping fee that's really low priced. I think it's like under 12 bucks. But anyway, let's get started and I'll show you how to adjust the brakes on your Cheetah. And hopefully this is going to help anyone out who is confused about how these brakes work and how to change them. All right, so before we start, I have the DMK Cheetah mounted on the AliExpress 6'6" Mojo Bass rod. I have it filled with 8-pound fluorocarbon. And the lure that we're going to cast is going to be this Yozuri popper. I think it's like 3/8 of an ounce, maybe even just a quarter. So nothing too heavy, but I've already set the spool tension up to have just a slight bit of side-to-side play. And when you get your Cheetah reel, I believe it comes from the factory set in long cast mode. So just a quick recap, with the Cheetah Metal and the Cheetah Air, you get 3 braking modes, and in each mode you can fine tune with the external dial. And in each mode you can tell you're in that mode by the lights. Now in the long cast mode, when you make a cast, the lights will flicker like a multi-rainbow color. And then you have your night silent mode where the reel will not flash any lights and there shouldn't be a DC whine. And then you have boat mode, which will flash green lights. So I forget which mode I'm in, so I'm gonna make a cast and look at the lights to find out. Here we go. All right, so we had a multiple flashing of colors. So it's definitely the long cast mode. I had the brake set to the second largest dot from maximum. And we'll make a few more casts. Now I'm not really gonna try to dial these brakes down as those will go to get maximum distance. That's something I recommend that you find out with your own reel once you get it. But let's go out this way. So in a pretty high brake setting, we're getting out there probably 30 yards. So not too bad for such a small 28mm spool. I'll do a sidearm. The DC whine is pretty loud. I wouldn't say it's as loud as, let's say, the 2015 METANIUM DC, but you can definitely hear it. But what I'll do is I'll make a few casts and I'm gonna try to stick the reel on its side so you can see the lights flashing. Here we go. All right, so hopefully you guys saw that. Had a backlash because I didn't stop the spool with my thumb. Just watching the lights, but the flashing generally comes in at the very beginning of the cast. So the first half and then the second half, it's probably not going to be any lights. All right, we'll do one more. All right, I was mistaken. The lights flashed all the way through that cast. But we are definitely in long cast mode. And what we're gonna do now is we're gonna switch modes. Now, of course, to do that, you gotta turn the brake dial to that box with the 3 in it. And then you have to make like a short cast. And then theoretically you should be in the next mode, which is in line, and that's going to be the silent or night mode. So I'm going to turn the brakes back to that second largest dot. And let's see if we're actually in night mode. And we are. So there was no DC whine. I did hear some kind of mechanical sound. And the distance is comparable to long cast mode. Probably getting out there almost 30 yards. And once again, I suggest that once you get your reel, you take some time and find the limits of each brake mode. All right, we'll do a couple of casts, and I'm gonna once again flip the reel over on its side so you can see that lights do not start flashing. Here we go. All right, now we got a wind coming into me. It's gonna be a great test. You can do overhead. Let's see what happens. Perfect spool control. All right, so I didn't turn the reel over to its side because I wanted to show you guys how the reel casts into the wind. Typical DC brakes is very nice controlled, no problem whatsoever, but we'll do one more. All right, so once again, the lights did not flash, but when I was reading DMK's description of the night silent mode, I immediately thought of the special night mode that Shimano put in the legendary 2012 original EXSENCE DC. Now that mode, it was designed for night fishing, where you didn't even have to stop the spool with your thumb once the lure touched down. And we're gonna try that out with the Cheetah Metal, and here we go. Oh! Had a pretty good overrun for some reason, like at the last half of the cast. Kind of tells me that the lure may have stalled in mid-flight. Maybe it caught some wind, don't know, but we're gonna try that again. All right, here we go. All right. Well, it's definitely not like Shimano's SP mode in the original EXSENCE DC, because if I didn't stop the spool with my thumb on that cast, I would have had a pretty decent backlash. And we'll do one more, just one more. Yeah. So for some reason on the latter half of the cast, that's when the spool lost control and I saw some overrun. But this backlash actually wasn't that bad. So if I turn the brakes up to maximum, would we be able to cast thumb free? Let's try it out since I already have the reel on night mode. Here we go. I have the brakes turned up to M. Hopefully that means maximum. Okay, so I think I messed up. The brakes flashed blue, and I'm going to explain what that means. So we were not in the silent night mode. We went actually into the mode changing mode because I turned the dial too far over. So I think the silent night mode is probably going to be best for if you're fishing a crowded spot and you kind of feel embarrassed that your reel is making so much noise. But now we're going to go hopefully into both mode, even though I may have messed up the order. But I put the reel into the brake changing setting on the dial. All right, so I know that it worked, and I'll show you why here in a second. But now I'm gonna turn the external dial back to the second biggest dot, and we should be in boat mode where the lights will flash green. Here we go. All right, so it turns out that I did mess up the order. So we kind of skipped over boat mode and went back to long cast mode. Now, this gives us a perfect time to show you how you can skip over a mode that you don't want to go to. Now, with this system, you can't go back and forth. Let's say you're in long cast mode, then you go to night mode, and then you want to go back to long cast mode. You can't just do that. You have to actually go through boat mode first to get back to long cast mode. So it's like a loop. Now, what you can do though, is you can skip over the night mode and go straight to boat mode. But before I show you how to do that, how you know you are in the mode change setting is that when you do your cast to switch modes, the lights will flash blue. All right, so I'm gonna try to do a cast and show you guys these blue lights. All right, hopefully you guys saw that. Okay, so now we should be in silent mode. Let's do a cast. Yep, we successfully went into silent mode. All right, backlash, my fault. So now we're gonna go into boat mode. Go back to the mode, change setting. Saw it flashing blue. All right, gonna turn the dial back to the second biggest dot. We somehow went into long cast mode. Okay, so I'm back in the mode change setting. The lights flash blue, and I'm paying too much attention to the lights here. All right, going back into the brake setting. All right, so we didn't hear the DC whine, so we are in silent or night mode. All right, we're gonna go into the mode changing setting. All right, we saw the lights flash blue, no DC whine. So that means we should have switched from night mode into boat mode. And we're gonna go into the brakes again. Here we go. There we go. So the lights flashed green only. So that means that we are in boat mode. And I think this is supposed to be like pitching mode as well. But let me do a few more casts and let you guys see the green lights. All right, so on these casts that I do where I try to show you the lights, I'm definitely affecting the trajectory of the lure. It's kind of stalling in the air, but we got to work with it. Hopefully you guys saw the green lights flash, but we'll do one more. All right, now honestly, in the brake setting that I'm going to, which of course is going to be the second biggest dot on the dial, the distance between all three modes are pretty similar. I think long cast mode may be about 5 foot longer than the other two, but I don't think it's going to be a super drastic increase in performance as far as distance until you start dialing the brakes down. All right, now it's time to show you guys how to skip modes if you want to. So we're in boat mode, and let's say I want to go to night silent mode. So I turn the dial to the mode change setting. Okay, made the cast, seen the blue lights. So now, instead of going into the brakes to, I guess, officially activate what would be long cast mode, I make another cast. Okay, and the brakes lit up blue. And I found this out on accident. I don't know if DMK programmed it like this on purpose. I personally found out through trial and error, but we should have skipped over long cast mode with that second cast in the brake change mode. So now I'm gonna go into the brakes and let's see if it worked. Yep, there you go. So we went from boat mode to long cast mode simply by making 2 casts in the mode change setting. So that means you'll save a ton of time by having to make that 1 cast to go into long cast and then going back in and doing the same thing. So yeah, if you have one of these reels and you didn't know about that, you're welcome. And if you're getting one of these reels, that's a handy way to save time and it lets you actually skip over a mode to get to a different mode. So we're gonna try one more time. So we're in silent mode and we wanna get to long cast. All right, so I saw the blue lights. Okay, we're gonna cast one more time to skip over boat mode. I really shouldn't be casting so hard. I don't wanna have to reel this in. So the fact that the reel made the DC whine, even in the mode change setting, lets me know that it looks like we skipped over boat mode. So now I'm gonna go into the brakes and we should be in long cast mode signified by the rainbow lights. Here we go. Yep, there we go. So from what I'm seeing, this reel is not gonna challenge any of the super long distance casting reels. It's got a really small 28mm spool, but the performance for like a 3/8 ounce popper in such a high brake setting is definitely doable. I mean, we're getting about close to 30 yards on these casts, or about 90 feet. But yeah, overall, for the price of this reel, which is right around $100, it looks great. Fit and finish is awesome. It feels smooth and refined for its price. And once again, if you want to get yours or the air model, there's going to be a link pinned at the top of the comments to Don Quinn Fishing, where you can get either this reel or the air version shipped to you with a combined flat tariff and shipping fee. All right, guys, thanks a lot.